Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Xbox Nation, the podcast that covers more than Xbox, but I like the sound of Xbox Nation. It's pretty self-explanatory, and we've got a pretty good cast with us here tonight. We've got some new people that you haven't really seen that often. We have, first of all, my bro Hellhammer. Say what's up to everybody, Hellhammer.
What's up, everyone?
We have Rand Outdoor going for 1 million gamer score by E3. I'm sure he's gonna have something special. What's up, Rand?
What's going on, Crap? Thanks for having me on again, man.
No problem. People actually request you, and they requested Hellhammer because I did a show with him not too long ago, right when all this stuff broke that maybe Microsoft would do like add-ons and stuff because he builds computers and stuff. So it was interesting to have his tech expertise with that. And we got Mooch for all you Mooch maniacs. What's up, Mooch?
What's going on, guys? Just happy to be here. What can I say, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I heard you got into some interesting Twitter debates today.
Well, my thumbs. I actually had to ice my thumbs before the show, because I got gaming to do later. And man, listen, it is what it is. Twitter is a great place. You got to defend both sides of this. I'll even defend the person that was going head to head with me. You've got an opinion. You put your opinion out there. That's fine. So you have to defend your opinion. And the one thing that people don't realize is, unless you're, absolute lunatic, there's 50% of people that will see your perspective over others. I don't know if you want me to dive into it or not, but it was basically over the fact that things that have gone in the past few weeks with game trailers crap, and we saw game trailers go by the way of the dodo bird recently. Yeah. And personally, myself, this has nothing to do with individuals or families or anything like that. It doesn't really get down to that level. And there's no other business in the world like the gaming business that I've seen such amazing rebound. I mean, never have I seen such amazing rebound for people. I know people in the profession that I'm in, when they say they're unemployed, I'm talking about 6-7 months they might be out of the job. There's just not a lot of those. These guys here, one company goes down and they literally get absorbed. At least the top 50%. Like we've said, Crap, we both work in a dog-eat-dog world, right? So if you're not doing your job, most times you're looking at your other employees like, why isn't this guy fired by now? He's not doing his job.
Hey, I have no sympathies for that shit. You know what I mean? As far as I'm concerned, do your job, and you'll always have a job to do.
Well, that's exactly it. And the thing is that the gaming media, okay, look at the words there. Gaming media. You should be catering to the gaming crowd, community, if you will. They're not. They've got their own personal agenda. They like what they like, and then they're like, we're going to go ahead and push this channel in that direction. Now, that's fine. That's completely fine. If you can get people to endorse you and you have all kinds of endorsers, that's fine. That's completely fine. But then when you go south because the actual customer doesn't care anymore for your product, I don't personally want to hear it. You decided to do that. You didn't want to right the ship. That's fine. That's why you see like ABC, CBS, and NBC, okay, their nightly news. You know as well as I know, the guy or the woman that's the anchor that night, they have a political opinion personally. They go home and talk politics with their better half, and they say, I like this candidate, I like that candidate. But when you're on the air doing the nightly news at 6:30, you have to stay independent. You have to report both sides of the coin. You know what I mean? I'm talking about the Tom Brokaw, Brian Williams type of stuff. That they usually stay pretty independent on the 6:30 news. Now, that doesn't mean NBC doesn't have their fair share of like Crossfire and things like that in the morning that either go way left or way right. That's a different program. But the nightly news, people tune in for just, you guys will like this, the facts, okay?
Yeah. Just the hashtag facts.
Hashtag facts. That's what they tune in for. So they don't tune in to hear who Brian Williams is going to vote for. And that's the way I look at the gaming media. The gaming media should be like, this is what happened today. This is what's happening tomorrow. This is what Phil Spencer said. This is what Yoshida said. Not, this is what Phil Spencer said. What, and then they just go off on him. And then there's all kinds of cartoons and ridiculousness about it. And that's where I think there's the misinformation. And when you decide to go right or left wing, radically, well, then you're gonna lose a lot of people, lose a lot of support, and you lose a lot of money. Yeah. So that's the end result there. Sorry for the ramble, but
no, it's okay because you know what? I feel the same way, and it's interesting because I'm not really going to miss any of these places, particularly like Kotaku and stuff like that.
Right.
I actually am hoping that because as you know, Hulk Hogan won this big lawsuit from Gawker, $115 million, and then they awarded him another $25 million on top of that, and they're not sure that Gawker has enough to cover it, which means all their sites and stuff could end up going down, and that's Kotaku's owned by Gawker. So in a way, that would be kind of interesting to see them go because I'm not a fan of them at all. And there's a couple other ones that I'm obviously not a fan of. And you know what's really funny is I saw this article that was actually trying to allude to that maybe Microsoft paid off IGN for Quantum Break. ads and stuff like that. I don't know if you guys have seen that, but I actually saw that. They're like, they've gone too far with the Quantum Break ads because it was the pre-roll for every YouTube video that was on there. And the whole time I'm thinking, you guys must not have been around when they were showing Bloodborne nonstop on the pre-roll ads. You know what I mean? Like, seriously, it's a gaming-centered site, so Microsoft has paid to do pre-roll ads on YouTube.
If you were a tourist and you were actually like, I'd like to see the Polygon headquarters, no problem, sir, and they pull up, you'd be like, no, this is the Bloodborne headquarters. Like, there was nothing in the world. Polygon ran with that for about 7 months, but what I thought was interesting was, and a better example than Bloodborne is, was anybody around for the past holiday, the last Christmas? It was Star Wars was the Battlefront was a commercial on every single IGN and every commercial on television.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I mean, this is ridiculous. What that is that's just a that's a lame duck. Trying to get a left sucker punch in there at the end at Microsoft.
It's so odd too because and I know you wanted to say something, Elmer, but it's so odd because we've all said that they've been very biased towards Sony, and then to see them come up and say, I mean, what was really funny was on M4G, they're like, well, IGN, that's a notorious pro-Microsoft site, and I about spit out my drink. I was like, are you serious? Come on now. Oh, go ahead, Elmer.
Well, I mean, I think it's pretty obvious if you run any kind of website, you're going to want advertising that's relevant to the people who are viewing it. So having somebody pay for advertisements or whatever the case may be is fine. I mean, I've been on IGN and I've seen nothing but Sony games, the side, left and right sidebars, the banner, all the pre-roll. So, I mean, I don't see the issue with it.
Yeah,
I mean, if they're not paying them to, I mean, obviously there's a big issue if somebody gets caught paying for a review, but just by having the ads on there, I don't see what the issue is.
Yeah, I don't think there's an issue. But now that we got everybody here, I wanted to talk a little bit about. I got some Xbox stuff to cover and some Nintendo stuff to cover and even some Sony stuff to cover. One thing is Quantum Break. Okay, this is kind of a polarizing topic. They did this graph thing where they explained in like 160 some pages how the game's 1080p. I don't give a shit. I think the game looks gorgeous. Apparently, it's using like dynamic lighting and this temporal reconstruction. Go ahead and try and explain this stuff, Rand.
It's the same shit I'm not technical in any way, shape, or form. It's the same shit they use for, I believe, the multiplayer in Shadowrise or Killzone Shadowfall.
Yeah.
It's the same thing they use in Rainbow Six Siege. Apparently, Rainbow Six Siege, if you didn't know, is 420p on the Xbox One.
Oh.
Yeah, but they use the same technique as Quantum Break.
Okay, which basically takes 4 pictures or whatever and over top of each other, and then they do a lot of like 4MS anti-aliasing and all this stuff, and so it technically, from a technical standpoint, comes out at 1080p. But and apparently some of these older analysis machines will only pick it up as 720p or whatever. But they've said, hey, it's 1080p. But I mean, for me, if you've ever seen any of the GIFs or any of the pictures, the amount of physics and lighting and things going on in this game is really next generation, in my opinion. Really, what I was looking for all along this generation was things like that. It's something that's different. The lighting really is cranked up a notch. Everything's cranked up a notch, but everybody just focused on the resolution, and that was the completely wrong thing, in my opinion. I mean, what are your guys' thoughts on this? Is this a stupid thing to talk on? Could potentially ruin what's going to be one of the best games of the generation.
Let me just jump in real quick because instead of saying what we typically all say, I'm going to quote one of the greats in the business that's no longer in the business anymore because he kind of retired. One of the guys I look up to, and one of the reasons I do this is Adam Sessler. And one of the things Adam Sessler said just before this console generation began was, he said the 2 things I'm really looking forward to. One was what you just said, Crap, looking for much more, just sharper lighting effects, particle effects, just those things that just pop off the screen that, of course, last generation just wasn't powerful enough to do. And the second thing he said, and this kind of elaborate, it grows, was no loading screens. For some reason, and the first time I ever heard him say that, I said, so that never really bothered me. But then I said, wait a minute, you're playing games like Destiny, and you go up into orbit, and then you go to another, section or planet or the tower or whatever, and you're sitting there. You can make yourself a triple-decker sandwich and a mixed drink and eat that before you land again to play the game. It's a long time. Loading screens can be really tedious. And we're just getting there now with games like The Division, okay? And I can't speak for Quantum Break. I don't know. But the Division has, if it has loading screens, I haven't run into them. Of course, when you're walking into the base of operations, your trot slows down, but nonetheless, it's seamless, right?
Yeah.
So my point being is that the next generation that Adam Sessler used to talk about was the effects, the screen, the lighting, the things that Quantum Break and Remedy are preparing for us within Quantum Break, and then games like The Division that are giving you no loading times. So you have a seamless. It keeps the gamer involved. Okay,
Yeah.
This is what we were supposed to get into. And when he made this statement the first time, I just scratched my head and said, okay, but bring on the graphics, right? And he said it over and over, and I kept playing more and more games. And then every time I got a pinwheel, or remember the old days of Resident Evil, the door opening before you went into another room. Oh,
Yeah.
I mean, nothing more could have taken you out of that game. But nonetheless, we're getting to that era now where we're trying to eliminate these things. These are the things that next generation should be bringing. 1080p, 4K, unless you're wearing a monocle, or you're sitting within maybe 4 feet of your screen, a lot of this stuff doesn't really matter, and we all know that. We all know this.
Yeah.
Nobody, not one of your friends. Crap, you said it yourself best. You said if somebody put a gun to my head, I wouldn't know if it was 720p, 1080p, or 4K. Like, you get to a certain point when you're sitting 10, 12, 15 feet back from your television, and a lot of us are doing that now because some people have 60-inch, 70. Like, you don't understand. Years ago, 25-inch was the standard. Now 50 is the – believe it or not, a lot of people are going to laugh because maybe I don't have a 50. 50 is the standard. Go to Best Buy and ask people that are in the know. 50 is the new standard. 60 is the large. 70 and 80 is where people are now extending their arms to reach to. So when you start to do that, there's actually a website to go to with how far you should put your couch or your sitting area from a 70-inch screen. Once you start going back that far, you know what I mean? Crap,
Yeah.
you can't recognize those P's.
Yeah.
So my point being is we should be all looking forward to other things in this generation. And this is, like I said, I try to give the Adam Sessler point so we're not going down we're not barking up the same tree. But that's the stuff that I've been looking forward to. I'm looking to see how developers like Remedy make the gaming experience completely different from anything else I've ever popped into the machine.
I agree. Rand, what are your thoughts on this, like the whole situation? Do you think that possibly this whole 720p nonsense is just, just what are your thoughts in general?
This type of stuff is always overblown, in my opinion. It's console war at its finest, essentially, because you have PlayStation. Like, look, remember when the first screenshots of this game came out, or the GIFs, and people were like, "Oh my God, that can't even, is that Xbox One footage? No, that's PC footage, right?"
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden it's 720p, and it's like, "Oh my God, it's so blurry, my eyes, they hurt." Oh!
Yeah.
And then the same thing happened with The Witness. People were like, "Hey, 1080p, yeah," and it was like, "Well, it's only 900. Oh, I can't enjoy this game anymore. Oh my God, it's just saying, it's like, outside of maybe a few people out there, like, you can't see resolution, So I don't get like the big brew about this whole thing where it's like, oh, it's 720p, like, I'm not going to give it my the time of day anymore. However, with that said, it is 2016, right?
Yeah.
And I would expect, I don't know, like, if Microsoft, and I think part of the problem is, I think they all came out, like Remedy and Microsoft both came out before and said the game was going to be 1080p.
Yeah.
So like they kind of set the wheels in motion of what to expect, and then the game comes out 720p, and some people are rightfully upset by that because they were told it was 10. I mean, I see that, like, that aspect of it, but for me, I've always said frame rate is way more important. I don't really care about resolution of the game. It's going to be, hopefully it's great, and I'm going to be sitting there, playing on the hardest difficulty, worrying about, like, how I'm going to kill these guys, not worrying about the jaggies on the screen or what resolution it's running at,
Yeah.
Rand, this question is for you and Crap and Hellhammer, you as well, but you two just said it, and that's why the question goes out to you. So I've asked this question about maybe half a dozen times on Twitter in the past few days, and the stutter stepping I'm getting, I'm confused. Okay, so it's 720p and 4 frames, and it's 4x MA, okay, right? But then everyone ends their sentence with, which actually leads it to 1080p. So anyways, and I'm like, wait. So is it 720 or is it 1080?
Hey, Hellhammer, do you know the technical aspects of that?
I've read a little bit of it. I mean, basically, to me, my opinions on it and how it sits is basically it's kind of a play on words here. Kind of, they're trying to say that it's 1080. I mean, it may very well render. I mean, everything that outputs from the Xbox is going to be 1080 anyways. I mean, regardless of what the native resolution is.
Right.
I mean, if you're putting things at a lower resolution in there, say objects or lighting or whatever, but the whole game as itself renders at 1080, I mean, I don't see the issue. I mean, if I'm playing PC games and I do play some PC games, whatever, you know, and my hardware's a bit dated at this point. I'm actually putting them up in that soon, but you know, if I'm playing a game and it starts to lag out on my frame rate, which to me is more important than absolute resolution, I'm going to lower down the quality of textures or something like that, but I'm not going to, you know, I can still run it at, I can run low textures and still run it at 1080p and it's going to look like garbage. It's going to look like shit.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'd rather run my stuff at 720p and have, you know, medium-high texture rates.
Yeah, and Hellhammer's right.
60 plus.
Hellhammer's right because you've got a game like The Amazing Spider-Man. Remember when that came out?
Yeah.
That's 1080p. But there's no textures. Yeah, Spider-Man. There's no textures. There's no lighting effects. There's nothing. The buildings look bland. There's no definition in the bricks. There's no definition in anything on the side. So Hellhammer's 100% right.
People tried to shit on me when I mentioned that. I said, you know, when they have these 1080p games and they go for these 1080p versions of everything, that's why the PS4 versions a lot of times will miss the little details that the Xbox One version will have, because maybe it didn't do 1080p, but they got some extra detail in there, you know, because of the less resolution. So, and if you look at some of the games on PlayStation, like they do sacrifice some things, because I mean I have one and play it, and they sacrifice some things for the mythical 1080p or whatever. And to me, I don't know, like I do agree with Rand that hey, you probably should be clear about what it's going to be from the beginning, but I also think that it's stupid for it to even be a thing that matters.
Well
yeah, that's. Go ahead.
I think it's difficult to be clear from the beginning, at least. I mean, they shouldn't be making promises of resolution anyways to begin with, especially if you're developing a game. You don't know exactly, you know, what your resources you're going to be using until you're already pretty much knee-deep in code.
Good point.
I mean, basically, at this point, the resolution thing is basically a moot point anyways. I mean, look at 360 and PS3. Half these people couldn't tell you what the resolutions were running on any of those games, on any games, on any of those consoles.
It was never an issue.
Yeah, people didn't care. You know what people cared about? They're like, is it 60 frames? That's mostly what people cared about, and that's a big thing to me because the game drops below 60 for me, which is an issue I actually had on PlayStation 3, why I couldn't play it that much, is I started to get migraines from that. I mean, I can't play that.
Yeah, I remember the infamous Call of Duty games that we would play on the PlayStation 3, because our clan was on Gaming Clan, by the way, was on PS3 and 360, and we would go from, say, like Call of Duty 4 or World at War on Xbox 360, where it ran really smooth and everything, to the PS3. And at the time, we didn't know. We're sitting there like, well, why is this game giving us headaches? Why is it slowing down? Like, I was so stupid at that time, like, didn't understand that the frame rates was the issue, and that the frame rate was so much worse on the PS3 version of the game. And so obviously, like, going into this generation, one of the things that I wanted was a steadier frame rate across the board, no matter what the game was. Just needed a nice steady frame rate, you know what I mean? What were you going to say, Rand?
Well, I was just going to say, like, I don't... I find it funny that people go to, like, Microsoft and Sony and ask specifically about resolution on these games like it really matters.
Yeah.
You know, like, for instance, with Gears, you know, like, Rod's on record now, like, being like, yeah, for the single player it's 1080p 30, and for the multiplayer it's 60, but no mention of resolution. Probably because there's no way it's going to be able to run at 1080p in multiplayer. So whatever resolution they get. But it's like you set these, like, you set, like, a bad precedent by doing that. Like, I would rather them not even say anything, right?
Yeah.
Because I love it when game comes out and, you know, like I said, you know, in this podcast, like The Witness. Everybody assumed it was 1080p and was enjoying it, and then, like, all of a sudden Digital Foundry does their shit and it's 900, and now people are like, ooh, you know, like, I love it when, like, that shit happens, when, like, you think, you know, it just goes to show you that, like, you know,
if you need somebody to tell you what it is, then
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, then it doesn't really matter. And I remember Shadow of Mordor came out. and nobody knew. Everybody was scrambling to figure out what the resolution was. Everybody swore up and down 720p on Xbox. It had to be, right? It had to be. I mean, it turned out to be, it was like 900p or whatever. But that just goes to show that people don't really know. They can't really tell. And like for most games that end up being 900p on Xbox One and 1080p on PS4, you literally can't tell the difference anyway. You know what I mean? It's like people just don't understand. And I've even played like Star Wars Battlefront, which looks gorgeous, and I guess that's the reason why they didn't really hype that up as being a DX12 title. And same thing with Quantum Break. I think it's odd that I guess the base resolutions of both those is 720, but that Battlefront looks gorgeous on the Xbox
Battlefront
One.
is an amazing looking game, and it's 720p.
Yeah.
And Destiny, I believe Destiny's 1080p. I don't think that game looks particularly like amazing or anything.
Yeah, 30 frame per second though, so they did have to sacrifice something on that game.
Did.
I mean,
They did, but I don't know what honestly don't understand the huge hang up over resolution. I mean, honestly, I think it's because, and I'm not saying it's one group or the other, but it's one group touting their superiority over the other. Right?
Yeah.
Let's imagine a scenario where if the PS4 and the Xbox One were the exact same resolution every single game, this wouldn't be news. You wouldn't have Digital Foundry doing this stuff. Nobody would care because they'd be getting the same thing. And let's be honest, if you're really, really that infatuated with resolution,
you have a PC.
You shouldn't be playing on a high-end PC.
Yeah.
In 4K and all the other good stuff that you get from it, right?
Yeah, that's all. Like, I mean, come on, that's easy. We say that, and that's true, right? But we know damn well that it's just all comes down to what you have. Like, I had somebody mention getting an argument with me on Twitter, like, well, exclusives don't matter, and I'm like, well, they sure as shit mattered to you PS3 fans last generation, right? The narrative has changed. Now it's not about exclusives, right? It's about multiplats and having the superior multiplats, right? It's like whatever the narrative is, and let's face it, PlayStation fans have outnumbered Xbox fans on the internet for a while, and so they're always going to have that. Even if both games are 1080p, they will find something to take the W. I remember Grand Theft Auto 5 and the infamous more grass. You know what I mean? It's like they'll always find, and I tell people this because they're like, well, I remember when this news broke or whatever that it might be 720p Quantum Break, and people were like, we need to get a better Xbox One out here, stat. And I'm like, what the hell do you guys think that's going to do? I'll tell you exactly what's going to happen. You could have a way better Xbox One out there, and they're still going to find a reason to shit on it. That's how these people are. You know what I mean? They're always going to find something. They're going to be like, well, this or that or this or that. It's always going to be something. It's pointless to get caught up in this kind of war, this back and forth stuff, right? It's just like let it go. Because guess how many Ps it is on PlayStation 4? 0. You know what I mean? They don't have this great game. They're getting, I don't even know what the hell they're getting. Gravity Rush, Vita remakes, and
Crap.
Yeah.
We're actually letting the 800-pound gorilla get away here. Okay, the real issue isn't even the fanboys. It's got nothing to do with the Sony fanboys because they're troops, right? They're soldiers. You can't get mad at the soldiers when it's actually the people. So let me get to the point. It's Sony, and here's the problem. Sony knew that this generation they had no games. There's a reason that I plead with people. Please go watch the Jeff Keighley interview with Jack Tretton right after the 2013 E3. Watch Jack Tretton's face. This is a man who's extremely professional, very rich man, very, very well-off guy. He knows what he's doing. He's been in the business for a long time. Jeff Keighley's like, you guys brought the punches. You guys should just drop the mic. And you look at Jack's face, and he's kind of like, shut up. All right, yeah, great. Next, let's talk about something else. He knew they had nothing. Now, did he know that this was going to happen? No, he didn't have a genie bottle. He didn't have one of those magic 8 balls. He said, don't worry, Jack, everything's going to be great. The lemmings will follow you into a pit of fire. He didn't know that, okay, which is why he left. He left on a high note, just like Seinfeld after 9 seasons.
Yeah.
My point is, all right, so hear me out.
After taking that PS3 beating for all those years, I don't blame him.
He was like, oh, here's my exit. There's my cab. I got to go. Or now it's there's my Uber. But anyways, listen, so my point being is that he literally says, okay, nothing. He kind of rolls his eyes. He lets it go. My point being here is that Sony had no games. They had nothing coming down the pipeline. And now listen, we're 2.5 years in to the generation, right? Let's count them on. Let's forget the launch titles, right? Forget the Xbox. So forget Rise and Dead Rising, and forget Killzone and Knack. Okay, forget that stuff because like you have to have something when you come out, right? So let's just call that a wash for the two companies. Since then, they've had The Order, they've had Drive Club, and Bloodborne. Hold on, wait. Some people actually want to count until yawn.
I'm actually playing through that currently.
God bless you. I hope you're taking Vibrant or using Tabasco in your eyes. What a boring game that is. But I played it too. It's boring. But my point is, so now you've got, look at all these other ones though. You have Xbox, right? Xbox puts out Titanfall. They've had Sunset Overdrive. They've had Halo the Master Chief Collection. We've had Halo 5. We've had Tomb Raider. We've had the Forza lineup, Forza 5, Forza 6, Forza Horizon 2. Gears of War Ultimate. It just goes on and on and on. My point is this:
Gears of War Ultimate, $10 right now everywhere.
$10. If you don't have it, you're insane.
Yep.
Or you're just not even a fan of Xbox at all, pretty much. I hate to say that because we used to say that but for $10, you just put it in your collection, you forget about it, right?
Well, I'm thinking about picking up the digital version just so I don't have to put the disc in. That way I own both. At $10, man, you can't go wrong.
Yeah, that's a good price.
That is the way to go, Crap. So I don't know. My thing is just that Sony doesn't have anything, and so what they did was they said, how do we actually compete against Microsoft? We know they have billions of dollars going into game production. What do? Wait a minute. They've got a DDR3 chip. We can consistently hit higher. Focus on 1080p. People are stupid, right? Everybody uses buzzwords.
That came out of fucking left field. That's like the whole bit wars back in the day.
Well, yeah, this is just Sony taking a note from Sega back in the 16-bit blast processing and that kind of crap.
What the hell was blast processing, Hellhammer?
It wasn't even a real thing. It was just a term that they made up to try to sell more consoles.
Yeah, because they had Sonic, who's going against, and he looks really fast on the screen, putting him up against Mario. But if they had done that with like F-Zero or something else, it maybe wouldn't have looked as bad. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's all just a matter of perspective too. I mean, it's like both consoles are relatively same in power. No matter what anybody wants to say, both consoles are, realistically are underpowered for today's hardware standards.
Exactly.
And both are pretty much the same exact thing. They're the same exact, almost the same exact APU from AMD. One's using DDR4, so of course you get a little bit better graphical performance because if you know anything about computers, you build an APU system, the faster your memory, the better graphical performance you get.
Well, neither is using DDR4. I wished one of them had DDR4.
Yeah. You're right. The PlayStation 4 is using the GDDR5, which is just all graphical based. So I mean, it does. Yeah, I forgot all about that. Yeah.
Yeah, so, you're right, Hellhammer. You're 100% right. These consoles came out, they're both underpowered.
Well, you fucked that up, Hellhammer. People are going to be like, some fucking intelligent tech guy he is, but you're probably just nervous and in awe because I'm fucking great and this show is going really well.
There it is.
Yeah. Seriously, well, sometimes you get people on the show and they get like caught up or whatever, you know what I mean? You get a few hundred people watching and you get,
I just think it was just a slip of the numbers.
Yeah.
DDR4 was the rumor, if you go back maybe 6 months ago. Again, I hate referring to the site, but I do listen to them a lot. Red Gaming Tech YouTube channel does a very good breakdown. Of course, they're Sony fans, but nonetheless, they broke it down when they were thinking that maybe the Slim was going to come out. They thought maybe Phil would throw that chip in there, but the thing is, we've discussed this a million times. We don't need to beat this horse. That's not going to happen.
No.
It's not. It's not going to happen. Now, do I think I'll leave a 10% or 20% window open. I'll leave a 20% window open that possibly the Slim comes out, has the ports available for future. Not today, not tomorrow, not 2016, maybe not even 2017, but maybe have a port available for future upgrades. I'll leave that window open. You guys can definitely shoot it down, but I think that there's because think about it. If Phil's sticking to his guns with what he said at the GDC conference and at that Xbox Windows 10 event, basically what he wants to do is put everything that he puts out from now on will be upgradable. So that doesn't mean that the upgrades will be coming out anytime soon, but let's just say this much, Crap. If you go and buy a Slim that comes out and it's got an upgradable port, okay, and nothing comes out for it, all of a sudden when Xbox 2 comes out in 2019, and it was the end of 2016, 2017 when you bought this, here's what Phil can do now. Everybody, we're coming out with Xbox 2. If you bought an Xbox Slim, you do not need to go out and buy an Xbox 2. You can just buy this $100 add-on, and you're right where we are today. You know what I mean? I'm just saying. I hope so,
and I hope that they make it the ugliest fucking thing ever. So you just you plug it in and then you set it up there, and it looks like a fucking. And I hope that it has like a monitor on there, like a life support system. They go beep beep.
No, I think that anything. I mean, that may be a possibility. They may think of adding something like that on there. I mean, they could add a Thunderbolt port, or they could use even AMD's new tech that's supposed to be being shown off for the external GPUs or the eGPUs. But I think the main issue with any kind of upgradability with where we sit currently are just that these are underpowered APUs that have very poor performance. Really, I mean, if you build an APU, if you build a system with a computer with one of those processors, you're not going to go anywhere much with an APU. For any kind of gaming.
The one thing that gives Microsoft the leg up, I think, on where we're going in this generation is that it has Windows 10. Okay, and Rand, you're the best example. Your tweet was heard around the world. Mike Ibarra comes out and says, "Hey, the latest preview patch is out, and by the way, we took out snapping achievements." And Rand was like, "The hell you did?" And he's like, and what's great is on the fly. Not only is that great to show the community being able to speak to the multi-billion-dollar company, that's an amazing feat within itself, because Sony would never listen to their customers. But on the fly with Windows 10 and the way that the API and the UI and everything is working, they're able to manipulate it very quick. That's the way Windows 10 was built with change in mind. You know what I'm saying, Hellhammer? Right. So that's where I think going forward. Leaving hardware out of this conversation for a second, Microsoft has a definite leg up. They always had a leg up, right? Because Microsoft's the software guys.
Oh, yeah.
But having Windows 10 has been made to just change the handle on the pan and just you got a new kind of pan. You know what I mean? They can change on the fly. Yeah. So
right. And that's all. That's great too. I mean, I think that you raise a valid point on that. I think that they could definitely scale it or scale it down. That sort of thing. And Windows 10 runs great on every device that I've tried it on, actually. I mean, even old computers, whatever the case may be.
Right.
The only real issue with any kind of, but let's go back to the hardware, just a real quick thing here, with any of that is basically just because of the datedness of the hardware. Whereas it's still running DDR3 on the Xbox One, you're still running, basically kind of dated kind of things on here. So even with an expansion port, you're not going to be able to change all of that because there's not even a AMD, as it sits right now, doesn't even have a DDR4 controller.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Real quick, I wanted to talk about a couple of things that Microsoft was talking about in this recent survey, and we talked a little bit about it on your show, Mooch, which was the ability to sell back your digital games. And the interesting thing was that they listed it at 10%, but Aaron Greenberg was quick to kind of dismiss that as just they're just using that as a base to kind of.
He seemed surprised that they even sent out a survey.
He did.
Like, what do you mean? We're not doing that. Like, well, it was your company that sent out a survey. Well, whatever. Yeah, it's just weird. I don't know. It's like the right hand doesn't know what the left hand's doing, kind of thing.
That's Microsoft for you this generation. I mean,
it is. It is. I've never seen so many people. Maybe it's because they're all flying all over the place all the time. Every time I see any of the executives, one's in London, one's on the Alps skiing, one's somewhere else, one's deep water. Fishing with the
one's hiring a party for the GDC, thing.
Oh yeah, they got some go-go dancers, and apparently that's sexist. You can't have dancers at a club. God forbid.
Give me 10%, please.
Yeah. Listen. And shout out to Rand. Shout out to Rand and Southbound and Tim Dog and Jeremy and Maka. What a great episode of TXR. I enjoyed that show you guys did Monday. To be honest with you. I think you all hit great points, okay? We were coming from nothing, okay? You buy a digital game, and the thing just goes to the grave with you, okay? So you're getting nothing. So 10% is at my first read, okay, listen, we all can do easy math. First read of it, you're like, I don't know about that. I'm like, wow, that's almost like handing me a Chuck E. Cheese token. But I mean, at the same time, I'm sitting there, for those of you not in the Northeast, by the way, Chuck E. Cheese is a arcade. But anyways, so like it was worthless. But 10% based upon your initial purchase, it's not bad really. It's really not bad at all. Look, if Microsoft and Aaron Greenberg want to go back to the drawing board and give us 20%, no one's going to argue. But I'm with Rand. 10%. It's better than nothing, and you get rid of the trash you're not using.
Yeah. My thinking's like, it's like, okay, so we're at a situation now where, as far as I know, none of the companies have a digital trade-in program because it's even asinine to think of a situation where, like, we're going to take your digital trade-ins, right? Because you're in a digital, marketplace. You can infinitely print as many keys as you want. You're not bound by the physical limitations of retail, right?
Yeah.
Which is even why GameStop exists and flourishes now, right? So, okay, so it's like, So if they're going to give me 10%, because currently we get a big fat 0, and I have a fucking shit ton of games on my Xbox One that I've beaten, I've played, and I will never, ever, 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 ever play again. Like, so I'm
Reagan
like, you know what?
Gorbachev?
Reagan Gorbachev, I get that 1,000, I'm never playing it again. Give me my money back, right? But for some reason, people are like, well, that's too low. 10%'s too low. Like, that's insulting. It's like, look, I get it if you're thinking about, like, Microsoft as GameStop. We're like, well, if I buy Quantum Break for $60 and I trade it in within the first week, I'm getting, like, 30, 35, maybe 40 if there's a trade-in thing, and Microsoft would only give me 6. I mean, I get it from that point, but then you're not seeing the full picture, right? So...
Yeah.
Let me educate you, okay? Let me educate the listeners out there.
Explain this to the less than intelligent folks.
So Microsoft is part of the reason. Same thing with Sony and Steam. They get 30% of every transaction from a third-party sale on their system, right? Yeah. So the other 70% goes to the publisher. So essentially, and Microsoft can't touch that 70%. Like that 70%, the store contracts, the way it's written up, like. Those publishers get that. Microsoft can't do anything. What they can do something with is the 30% that they get, which is why they're offering you 10. Like they're saying, listen, we will give you 10% back out of the 30% that we make on the transaction, right?
Yeah.
So like number one, it can't even go anywhere higher than 30, and it's not even a be 30 because like Microsoft would make no money, and that's why they would do it anyways. But then think about it like this: if you go buy Quantum Break on day one at GameStop for physical, and you spend $60, and you go trade it in, how much would GameStop give you for a copy of Quantum Break if, number one, they had an infinite supply of Quantum Break copies, and number two, they couldn't resell what you just sold them? You probably get
probably less than 10%.
Well, you would get nothing essentially.
Yeah.
That's what Microsoft
like there's $2.
They have an infinite number of keys to sell, and they can't resell the game you're trading in. They're only taking the license away.
Yeah.
So essentially, this is just kind of a goodwill gesture. Like, you know what? Here's some more money. Give us your old stuff. Maybe it's just a way to get people to to buy more games, essentially.
Digital, to buy more digital because they get more money digital.
Exactly.
And it allows them to do that. So it's really a win-win for them. And also, I think it gives them an edge. I think the Xbox One already has a lot of edges when it comes to the PS4. And EA Access being one, and the company that actually listens and implements what we ask for is another. But doing a digital buyback when Sony would never do that is a huge edge, especially with the way people are buying digital. I know, Mooch, you buy everything digital. Yeah. I'm starting to buy more digital, but obviously I still like my physical stuff. I try to the end goal is I would end up with both, you know what I mean, because games come down in price and they go on sale, and so I'll end up with a digital copy and then the physical as well for my collection, you know what I mean? Like, I did that with Titanfall. It's also good because like EA Access gives you the digital version of games, so you can play them, and if you own them or whatever. So I think that's cool. But yeah, I think that go ahead.
Well, it's also a common misconception because I see people in chat saying this, and is like, well, how come we cannot get like digital games as cheap as Steam? And the reason for that is simple. It's because Microsoft and Sony have retail partners.
Yeah.
They're GameStop, they're Best Buy, they're Amazon, they're Walmarts, right? Those companies help sell Xbox Ones and PS4s. Microsoft and Sony cannot piss off their retail partners, so they can't undercut them with the digital, even though they could. Even though there's a higher profit margin on digital and they could easily sell these games for cheaper than they can at retail, they won't, because the retail presence for them is more important than making a few extra dollars on the transaction. The reason you have these insane Steam sales sometime is because there are no fucking physical copies of Steam games anywhere. I mean, you might get a couple like high profile PC like retail releases, but they essentially don't exist anymore. That's why like Steam and these PC people can set their prices so low and have these insane sales. There's a difference there, and I don't think people understand that. And look, I get that like nobody is like, if you're on the fence about going digital, I get that Microsoft giving you 10% back isn't exactly going to make you jump in. Right, and I completely agree with you. Like 10% is a low number, and it wouldn't make if I wasn't already invested in the ecosystem, I wouldn't be like, well, now this is a reason why I'm going to go all digital. I'm going to get 10% back. I'm going to get $6 out of the $60, because most people will be like, I'd rather just buy it from GameStop, play it, and then trade it in and then get my next game for $20 instead of, you know, $60 or whatever with the trading credit, right? But this is kind of like a loyalty program, the way I'm looking at it. Like Microsoft right now gives, you know, depending on how much you spend in the store and if you're a gold member or not, like they give upwards of 10%, you know, back. Like I get 10% back on all the purchases I make every month, right?
Yeah.
And then they deposit the money in your thing, and you're good to go, and you have more money to spend. That's essentially this thing. Like, you know, I have like 400 Xbox One games, right? And I would probably resell 95% of what I have. And, you know, depending on how much I get, you know, like if I got $200, hey.
Wait, how many do you have?
I have like over like 400.
Jesus Christ.
I have like a lot of games.
You've got a lot of indie games, don't you?
Well, no, I have a lot of indie games, but I also have a lot of retail games. Like, for instance, I would resell Sunset Overdrive in a heartbeat. I would resell Forza Horizon 2 in a heartbeat because those are games I've beaten, I'm done with, and I'll never play again.
Yeah.
Like, collecting and hoarding things has never been my thing. So, like, Sunset Overdrive's great. I loved it. I bought it day one. I bought the DLC. I supported that game. But I'm never going to play it again, and they're never going to add content again. It's just sitting there wasting hard drive space. Yeah. So if I can get some sort of money and then fund my next purchase, I'm going to take that opportunity.
Yeah, I think you hit the ball out of the park with that.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are also missing the fact, too. It's just an option. So it's not like they're putting a gun to your head, oh, sell us your game that you paid $60 for $6.99.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't get that option anywhere else. So, I mean, you're still getting a better option than you would any other platform at this point.
Now, do we see Xbox fans complaining about this, or do we see PlayStation fans who won't have the options complain about this?
I see a lot of Xbox fans complain. Maka put out a tweet, and he had like 40 responses saying like it was insulting, and like it's just like, look, like Mooch just said, it's an option, or maybe it was Hellhammer, but it's an option. You don't have to. Nobody's forcing you to like, and it's probably not going to happen. But to say it did, nobody's forcing you to press the button to sell it back to them.
Yeah.
It's just like an extra option there, and people are like upset about it for whatever reason. It's weird. It's so weird.
Not just that, but the part I have a really hard time people understanding is that when have you ever sold? When has anybody that's a gamer ever sold an intellectual property? You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you don't even know. You really can't get mad. You've never done this before. It's not a lemonade stand. You know, I mean, this is something where before you bought it and you realized that it was stuck with you the rest of your life. The only thing you could do was still own the rights to it, but delete it off your hard drive, right? So you could download it again in the future, which you could still do. I believe, you know, the key is still accessed up in your cloud somewhere underneath your username. But my point being here is Rand makes a good point. I myself personally, Forza Horizon, great picks, by the way, for the conversation. Forza Horizon 2 and Sunset Overdrive. Myself personally, I would not sell those back digital. I have them both, but I would not sell them both back digitally. But at the same time, I completely get where Rand's coming from. The thing with me personally, same thing when it goes to GameStop. GameStop bothers me because I remember bringing in a stack of games, and they're like, well, we'll give you literally, I'm not, I'll give you 68 cents. One was $1.17. One was like 98 cents. I'm like, where do you even come up with these numbers, by the way? 67? And, you know, I was like, wow, I don't know. How about a quarter? Just give me a flat-out quarter. I can make a phone call. You know, my point is that I thought that, you know what I said to the guy, though? I said, let's do this. Let's pretend I never came in here. Because at this point, I'm going to go home. Instead of 67 cents, I think I'm using one of my old games as a coaster.
Yeah, I mean, you can save money that way. Is it a PS4 game that you're using as a coaster?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think actually, just to throw it out here, even though I'm not a fan, I think they got a little bit better with their trade-in prices, at least a little bit more recently. Yeah, I mean, you can check them now online, and you can actually see before you waste your time to go in there that somebody offers you 16 cents. Your game is not worth anything.
And crap, if I'm jumping segues here, just calm me down and say we'll talk about it later. I am somebody that currently, and I think everybody in here has one. I'm not sure about Rand. I have a Wii U, okay. And we touched a little bit on the NX stuff a little offline. I'm waiting, and I would love to hear what you guys got to say to the audience. When do I package? I went and grabbed the box and everything. I keep everything in that sense. When do I go trade this bastard in? When am I getting the most money for my Wii U? Because then I'm just going to take that money that I have on my GameStop card, tuck it away, and if it's this November or next March or whenever the NX comes out, regardless of what, I would rather have an NX at this point than a Wii U. Because rumors have come out, and of course Nintendo kiboshed it, but rumors have come out that the Wii U is going to stop production soon, right? So with it stopping, that's fine. That's completely fine. It makes perfect sense. Of course Nintendo has to say no, they need you to buy the rest of the shit on the shelf. So they're going to deny it. But I want to know, is it smart right now to walk in before news hits and just go trade in all? I have probably 12 to 16 Wii U games for the kids, and it's in pristine condition. And I have 3 Wii remotes and, of course, the gamepad.
Yeah.
Should I go trade it all in now and get as high value?
I would try to trade it in now if you could. Nintendo games, first-party games, Mario.
They never drop in price.
They never drop in price. So no matter what, like right now, I have regular Wii games that are still worth $30, $35 trading. No shit, like new Super Mario Brothers regular Wii is like a $30 trade-in still. You know what I mean? Because Nintendo first-party games don't drop in price. So yeah, you're still going to get a good amount for that. Now the hardware itself, you probably wouldn't get. I think, what was it, like trading in an Xbox 360 at GameStop gets you like $26.
Yeah, and that's what the controller, that if you go buy the controller used from them, they're going to charge you $20 for it.
Yeah, but here's my point, guys. My point is that the Wii U, okay, listen, don't forget the 4 of us are more in the know. We pay attention to what's going on. The Wii U is still Nintendo's primary console. The Xbox 360 is already faded out.
Yeah.
My point is, see what I'm saying? So what I'm saying is I think the Wii U hardware would get me more than that $25 at this current time, because if someone walks in and goes, "Hi, I'd like a Wii U," well, it is Nintendo's premier console right now.
They probably give you $75 to $100 for it, something
like
that.
I'm actually checking right now.
Check it out, will you, Hellhammer? My point is this: if we wait till E3, that's going to drop like a lead balloon. Whatever Hellhammer says, it's going to drop by. If he says 75 or 100 right now, it's going to be $25 come June 3rd or June 8th.
Well, I mean, you can pretty much guarantee any games you have that are first party are going to be at least $38. You know, $30 to $38.
The games will hold up. The games will hold up. You guys have convinced me in 2 sentences. I agree with you, because I went and bought my son. He has a 3DS, and I went and bought him Super Mario Brothers 2 for that, and used was still $33. I'm like, what the hell?
That actually just dropped in price, though. See, that's one thing that might get you too, is Nintendo with their whole select deals and like the greatest hits, essentially. A lot of games just dropped to $20, $30 new. So.
Yeah, like you can get Mario World 3D World on Wii U for $20 with Nintendo Selects, right?
Right.
Or like if you have but see, those games aren't as collectible, the Selects versions. The real versions, like Pikmin 3, that game was out of print, and so it was really expensive. And now I guess you can get the Selects version for $20 or whatever. But if you have, like, say, Smash Brothers or Mario Kart and stuff like that, those will get you $30, $35 trade-in value, dude.
Yeah, I would keep your system just so you can remember a time when Nintendo had buttons on their controllers.
Oh!
It looks like right now a 32GB Wii trades in for $100 credit at GameStop.
Yeah. Listen, people want to laugh, but if I take those games, I have all the Mario games, I bought all the relevant games that came out for it. You walk out of GameStop with a $200 gift card right now, and the NX is not going to be. We all know the NX will not exceed $400. I don't mind walking in day one and taking $200 out of my pocket and having the latest and greatest. Granted, it's going to be an oval Stewie from Family Guy shape. That's fine. It is what it is. But I don't mind that. For $200, I can move on with my life.
Yeah, it does look like Stewie's head.
Any of the games that you're looking at, the major games like Splatoon, Wind Waker HD, Mario Kart 8, New Super Mario Bros. U with Super Luigi U, they're all, 28 to $30 right now or more.
Yeah, and those are all the games I got.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a shame too when you think about the Wii U, like being that it's really like a hardcore system for hardcore Nintendo fans.
Yeah,
there's a lot of great games on there in comparison to the Wii, because the Wii was not. But it's 4 years later, and they're gonna discontinue it, kind of like the original Xbox. It's one of the worst selling systems ever. I mean, barely sold over the
10 million. Yeah, like 10, 11 million. Ugh.
And I'm always prone to say Nintendo's irrelevant, but you never know what they're gonna do. And I would like to see Nintendo and the NX to come out and be successful. Because in
competition, right?
Well, not just competition for competition's sake. It's got to actually be real competition. It's no good if if Microsoft is shit in the bed and Sony's running away with it. I mean, it does no good Microsoft just to be there as competition. It's got to be actually real, genuine competition.
Right.
But I would like to see all three do well, because at the end of the day, if all three are doing extremely well and fighting for your dollar, like we are the winners in that scenario. You know, like, you know, they compete with each other to make better games, you know, better sales. Like, so many different things can happen. And it always sucks when right now you have one that's winning 2-1, where Microsoft's really not competing. Well, they are competing. I mean, but it's 2-1, so it's like, eh. But like, then you add in the Wii U, and the Wii U's like an afterthought now. Like, nobody gives a shit.
Yeah.
Like, I think this, you know, hopefully next gen it's much more even. Like, the Wii U or the NX is extremely successful, the Xbox 2 is successful, and so is the PlayStation, because then we as gamers will benefit from all that, you know?
Yeah, hopefully that's the case, but I don't see Nintendo get being successful anytime soon in the home console market.
Well, let's look at this leak for this controller, right? The first one we saw was this white controller, right? And it looked like it had a sticker on it to me, like over top of it, and it seemed like somebody made, because everybody and their mother has these 3D printers now, right? And so somebody could have just easily taken that patent that Sony, just because, you know, all these companies have different patents. Right? That doesn't mean that they always take advantage of them or model things after them. So I didn't really believe the white one. And then you see this new one, and then you have the guy from Game Informer say that he actually heard that there was no face buttons on the NX controller. So I'm thinking, holy crap. But then you had this other guy who's a Nintendo of Europe employee says, no, they're all fake. So you're kind of wondering, you don't know what to believe. And then...
Well, if you're an employee for a company, you're gonna, you know, obviously you don't want your bread and butter to leak out ahead of time, so people can automatically judge it without having necessarily seen it. So I mean, I think that as a whole, if it was a leak, it's something that's probably pretty devastating to Nintendo, especially with how close they've been before. I mean, people didn't know what the original Wii was going to be. I mean, they had the code name Revolution. People weren't 100% sure what the Wii U was going to be. But then, you know, at this point, it would make sense for them to deny it and say, oh, well, those are faked, and then just deal with that later, hoping people just forget about it by the time they actually show anything.
How the hell are you going to forget about something that has no fucking buttons on it? You know what I mean? Like, look, it's a damn phone. I got big fat fingers. How am I can't dial a number without, like, concentrating. You know, it's like digital shit doesn't really work for the average person or kids. Like, how are they going to get their kid audience if they got a controller that you see it? You can't even look like you control it.
I'll throw this out here too, right? Like, a lot of little kids now grow up on cell phone games and that sort of thing, so it's not really much of an issue. But you also got to look at the simplistic nature too of games that don't have physical buttons. You know, you try to play a game that should require physical buttons on a cell phone that doesn't have a physical button layout, either, you know, a phone that was designed for that, which is very, very few of, aside from that horrible Sony one.
I'll say this much, and Hellhammer, I don't know if you have kids, but I may be the only one on the panel that has kids, and I got news for you guys. This is shocking to report, but I see it with my own eyes. You know, we all read these articles that say mobile gaming is blowing up, and you know, iPads are selling games like crazy, and forget the price point being $1. Of course, all that stuff comes into play. But like you guys are saying, I just could never get used to playing anything that doesn't have any buttons, right? Yeah. And to be honest with you, that's not what's happening in the young demographic. They don't have a problem with not having, you know, the 85 buttons we have on our controllers. They actually like having this ability to minority report their way through a game. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, I see it with my own eyes every day. My son has so many iPad games. Does he still play Xbox? Yes. Does he still play Wii U? Yes. But he's playing the iPad games, I would say, equally. And he's not the only one. His friends come over, and they're even playing on their parents' old
Somebody
iPod
get these
touches.
kids an Xbox One.
I know, right? That's what I said. I'm like, I mean, my kids play console games. I forced them to. You know, I'm like, oh, come on, guys, try this out, try that. But like, they do gravitate to the buttonless games. So Nintendo's not wrong. Remember, Nintendo's also Japanese built, and in Japan, they're playing mobile games through the roof. Right. The only place the PSP survived was in Japan. It didn't survive anywhere else. So I mean, Sony's aware of it. But they're catering to more of the Western culture, and you know, Nintendo's not, and that's clear. That's clear with their path forward. Not only with this controller, but look at their form, fit, and function for this generation. They concentrate more on the 3DS than they do on the Wii U. So yeah. I mean, you could see that they're catering more to the Asian culture. That's my take from, you know, just from the outside looking in.
It's also Nintendo is focusing a lot on the 3DS because that's basically their breadwinner. That's where they make all their money. I
But
mean,
it's big in
Nintendo
Asia.
is,
It's big in
Nintendo is,
Asia.
yeah. I mean, Nintendo has never been defeated in the handheld market, and there's a reason for that. It's because they're the only game in town if you want to have a portable game system, basically that's not a cell phone.
Yeah.
And,
Well,
but I don't think their games on 3DS are that great, to be honest with you. I mean, they're no better than the 8-bit Nintendo games we used to play.
I mean, it depends on what you're playing as well on there too. I mean, there's a lot of games that have come out. I mean, I think the new 3DS was a bit of a disappointment. I mean, mainly because they pack in all that hardware that should make it, pretty on par with like the Vita and that sort of thing. But they only ever released one actual game that takes advantage of it. And I'm looking at Xenoblade here.
that's the one that takes advantage of it.
Yeah, that's the only game that really takes advantage of it.
So the other 3DSs can't play that, but that's weird. So it actually locks it out. Like if Sony and Microsoft do different upgradable or upgraded consoles, I hope that they don't lock people out of their games. Like that's always kind of a worry or whatever. But anyway, go ahead.
I want that controller to be true. I do, and
you want them to fail so bad.
No. I don't want them to fail. I want that controller to be true because I want to see people that have staunchly argued against mobile gaming forever to somehow come and defend the controller having no buttons and it being a haptic button setup like mobile phones. I just want to see that.
Here's what I want to throw out there, right? And that's what I understand, behind Nintendo thinks that you try playing any kind, and Nintendo's bread and butter for all their games are basically Mario, Zelda, that sort of thing, platformers, whatever. You try playing any kind of like 2D platformer on a cell phone, or even use an emulator, emulate a game on there, whatever, and where you have to have two buttons. One is for running and one is for jumping. You can never do where you hold down the button and use your finger to press down the other button to jump at the same time. It's always have to pick up your finger and move it back and forth. No matter how good of a phone you have, no matter how well written the game is, it just doesn't work because you don't have that tactile feedback to do it right. You just end up not doing anything.
Yeah. So, well, it'll be interesting to see. Like, I'm very interested to see how this thing turns out. Did you guys also think that this could be, because rumor had it that the NX was going to be a handheld as well? They were going to release two things, like a home console and a handheld that would hook into it or whatever. Maybe this is just the handheld portion of it.
No, I mean from that thread, they said that that's the controller for the system. But it makes
sense.
Fuck
that controller. Fuck that damn controller.
It makes sense from their business standpoint. I mean, they just released that Mimota game on mobile in Japan, and it's like a huge hit. Over 1 million users in 3 days.
Yeah.
Their stock price jumped up. I mean, like, look. One thing you can say about Nintendo. Now, I may not have the love of Nintendo because I went from the Nintendo NES right to the Genesis and to the PlayStation. So I didn't play Super Nintendo at all, and I only played a few 64 games. So I don't have the love of Mario and Zelda.
Well, you didn't miss much on the 64, even though I'll probably get hate for saying that.
Yeah.
But I don't have the love of the Nintendo franchises that a lot of people do, right? But there's no denying that, if you think, most people when you think of gaming, you think of Mario. Right? Like there is so much money for Nintendo to make on mobile. It's ridiculous. They could own, or maybe not like own, but they could make a serious dent in mobile if they did it right. And I know that's part of like their strategy. As far as like, we mentioned earlier, I think Hellhammer said the same thing as me. Like, I'm not sure Nintendo could put out a console anymore that is going to get the proper third-party support that is needed to be successful, right?
Especially not already a few years into this generation, where everybody's, nobody's going to buy an NX or whatever it's called and say, well, I'm going to play Call of Duty there, or I'm going to play third-party game or Assassin's Creed. You know what I mean? Because that's a difficult time. Most of us are already set in our ways.
And that's why, like, that's why I just don't see. I mean, look, they have to try because they can't have another failure like the Wii U, right? Yeah. They need to go after the hardcore Nintendo fan, but they need to also go after the casual gamer. The casual gamer just buys Call of Duty, plays Madden, gets Star Wars with his buddies.
I have a question for you guys, though. But here's my question is, why oval? Like, they could have done the same.
That thing looks the most uncomfortable looking thing I've ever seen.
I don't know how you would even hold that controller.
Make it rectangular. You could have done the same thing. Just all right, go buttonless. Do your idea. Whatever. You want to try and reinvent the wheel again, go for it. Don't let me hold you back. But the problem is not only holding it, how can you get immersed into what you're looking at? It cuts everything off.
Yeah.
Like, there's a reason Samsung and Sony and any Vizio, they don't make oval TVs. You know, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I don't understand why. I mean, even the nuttiest PC guy who goes and buys a $2,000 monitor, it's rectangle. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, I don't understand what the hell they were thinking with the oval. That's my problem.
I think one of the other that is an issue, and the other issue, just aside from the that lack of tactile feedback. I mean, basically, you're looking at it this way too. Basically, by them not having actual buttons on the controller, that's given them the developers the right to say, you know, how they want their control scheme laid out. So at this point now, there's no set standard for that, for how to have your control scheme laid out.
What was the number one thing when smartphones came out, though, Hellhammer? Number one thing I used to hear all the time back in the 07, 08 era was, I'm going to drop it and break the glass. This thing can crack. This thing can spider web.
Right.
And that's a big problem. You've got kids using Nintendo products.
Yeah.
How are you going to bubble wrap that thing?
I mean, basically, I mean, there's not really much of a way to do it. I mean, even you look around now, you got $700-800 smartphones. I'm looking at iPhone particularly, where you look at them the wrong way and the screen's cracked.
Right, they're cracked. And I mean, that's a listen, now they're going to have so that means when you go buy your NX, everybody, for $400, make sure you reserve $30 to $50 for your bumpy that goes around your, you know what I mean? I mean, you're going to need a bumper. You really are, because when that thing,
and your glass screen protector.
And your glass screen protector and your fingerprint protector. I mean, it's just, I don't know. That's my big problem with it is you should know from the look. Apparently, Nintendo is telling everybody, hey, we're not trying to go for the Western market. We're trying to stay in the Asian market because that it just doesn't cater to anybody over here. Parents aren't going to be excited to go buy their kids an oval iPhone to play with, and you know, us types of gamers that have been in the game for a long time, we're just not interested in that. It doesn't have the button, you know, the gamer. Look at what does that mean? The stuff that. Have you ever played a game recently and you don't have the rumble on, or the rumble's
it's
not?
Awful.
You know, it's ridiculous. It doesn't feel right anymore. You know, it's become a way of life. You know, it's like having cruise control in your car. You know, I'm not saying you use it when you go to work every day, but if I take it out and that one time you take that 2-hour trip, you're looking for it while you're driving. You look like the two guys at Zoolander banging on the computer. You're like, where is it? It's got to be in here. I've never been in a car without this.
I was like us trying to play on PS4. Yeah,
that was great.
I posted that GIF on Twitter the other day. It was hilarious.
That was me, yeah.
I know, right? We're like, how do we do this? And I was like, I don't know.
It's so intuitive, according to GameStop or GameSpot.
Yeah, well, we're just idiots, I guess. But I also wanted to talk about something interesting. Evolution Studios closing down. The creators of Drive Club, the wildly successful Drive Club, according to Sony fanboys, the Forza Motorsport killer, according to many sites and pundits. What are you guys' thoughts on that? I mean, hey, it's perfectly natural for a Forza killer to close down, right? I mean, right. That means it's truly successful.
The only thing I found weird in this whole situation was, like, I thought you guys just had it fair to hire Lionhead people, yet, like, you
that
shut down
PR bullshit.
I know Mooch was saying that. It was just like, wait a minute, like, so we're gonna hire some Lionhead people, but yet you're just planning on shutting down another studio in the UK. I was like, that's kind of weird, you know.
This is the same shit ran since 2013, and I said the comment that I would like to be my claim to fame wasn't even the tweet that came out after Evolution Studios closed. I had said something a week ago or a week and a half ago when Lionhead actually had closed down, and that tweet came out that Sony said, "Come on over, we're hiring." I said this is a publicity stunt. Yeah. It's completely a publicity stunt. It's the same thing when Microsoft took the stage in 2013 and they said $4.99 and Phil and company were getting like tomatoes at the stage and throwing. They're like, yeah, whoa. People, I mean, I've never seen such ducking on stage. And all they did was they took the black magic marker. They went, they took the 4 out, made it a 3, and they do this grimy shit. So the minute that Lionhead went down, what do you do? Listen, no gamer, not anybody who's in the business, not Boogie, not any. Nobody's going to call Sony and be like, hey, correctness. Look at what you're reading. It's not very hard. It's all in front of you in black and white. It's just bullshit. Sony's full of shit. They don't have any games. They got nothing coming. They invested everything in the VR. There's nothing coming down the pipe. Right? There's no game.
I have to laugh every time anybody mentions VR because I think it's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. It's insane. Like, crap, you remember the insanity we all went through in the Xbox community the past 4 weeks with the differences we heard between the Quantum Break news and then the additional hardware news, and you know everyone had their right to say their piece.
Some people melted down a little bit. I don't really know anybody.
I don't know who you're talking about. All right, but my point is this, though, crap. Look at these guys. Okay, so can you imagine if we were all like just naturally Sony fans and we found out that this generation is considered dead as of June when they get on stage and tell us that they put every single egg in the basket of VR? And not only that, they're playing third fiddle to Oculus and Vive. They're third fiddle.
Yeah.
And here's more political bullshit, okay? The political correctness bullshit. Sony comes out and says that we're 1080p. We said it earlier in this podcast. 1080p is all that matters. It's all that matters. You guys need to realize that we are 1080 fucking p. Okay, that we are stronger than the competitor. All of a sudden, flip the script.
It makes you a better gamer. They've actually said that. Yoshida said 1080p makes you a better gamer.
He did say that actually.
Yes.
But now on this June though, crap, he's gonna get up there and tell you that power is not everything.
Yeah.
It's price. Now it's okay to be third. Don't worry about power. Just enjoy the
I mean,
games.
you can play the worst version. Hey, right? The PS4 has technically, quote unquote, the best versions of multiplats, right? But what happens when they have the worst versions of VR games?
Then it's
right?
about price.
You think? Yeah, I mean, they're going to be like, well, who cares, right? Then it's going to be about price.
Yeah, they're going to turn it to the price point because basically at this point, anybody who wants to come up against Oculus, I don't have any experience with the Vibe. But Oculus was actually fairly decent for what it is. They would hate VR gaming.
Yeah, and you know what's interesting is people were messaging me, right? They're like, hey, crap, are you going to do a video about how quickly PlayStation VR sold out? And I'm like, okay, I'll do a video as soon as I get a context of how many units they had up for pre-order. You know, if they only had 50,000, then that's not very impressive.
Last I seen that when I read that article, because I haven't read anything on that recently, but it was Amazon pre-orders that sold out. Last I know, that you could pre-order on Amazon and not put any money down. They just put a hold on your card temporarily for like $1, and then they don't charge you till it ships. Because I pre-ordered.
Amazon is the best.
I pre-ordered Batman Collector's Edition on Xbox One, which was like, what was it, like $150 when it came out, and they put $1 hold on my card, and I was like, well, I got that pre-ordered down. It was like a year early.
Yeah. So you can do that, and the funny thing was, like, Walmart's still advertising that you can pre-order there. GameStop's like, hey, you can still pre-order here. So I don't know. I think that Sony, you know, they obviously probably want to sell as many as they can, but they maybe want to create this illusion early on of this hot item that you're going to want to pre-order and get your money down on right now because you might not be able to. You know what I mean? So I think that as a retail market though, that's smart. You know, you want people to believe that this thing's going to be a hot item, and you better get your money down now, right? I mean, if we had something electronic that we were trying to sell, we'd want these places to do the same thing.
Right. Aren't some of them flipping right now? Aren't some of them flipping right now on eBay for like $900?
Yeah, you can see.
Because it's artificial hype.
Yeah, you can see some of them on eBay for $700, $800, $900. Just absolutely ridiculous because.
Well, you know, I'm sure the launch is going to be limited. Like, I mean, I think they've kind of already said that. So, if you were one of the lucky few who maybe, you know, did get in on a pre-order, and like by the time eBay rolls around and October comes up, I could see those things going for a pretty penny.
Well, I like how you use the word lucky, though, Rand. I want to interject there because I took that differently. Lucky, okay. Lucky in the means of, yes, I'm going to take my $400 investment, my $500 investment, and turn it into $1,000. Absolutely.
Well, lucky, that's what I mean by lucky. Yeah, I mean, because I don't want the
robot golf. Not so lucky.
Well, I mean, in the sense that, like, look, if I knew that I could get that thing for $400 and then flip it for $1,000, I would have pre-ordered one.
Absolutely.
You know, I mean,
Absolutely.
why not, right?
Yeah, I would have done that.
But listen, it was, and shout out to my mooch maniacs that follow me on Twitter. I put a tweet out immediately that morning. It was like 7 a.m., 6:30 in the morning. I said, let's all start the countdown to how long it takes for the media to start saying wow, already sold out. Sony VR already sold out. And literally, it was about 25 minutes after my tweet that a couple of the people and I like the girl. She does a good job. But that blonde, it's called blonde gamer girl or whatever. She's big into the IGN stuff like that, and she talks to a lot of the people in the know. She tweeted it out, and then another person tweeted it out. It was more the employees for Kotaku. It wasn't necessarily Kotaku and IGN, but all the employees were like, I can't get one either. I can't get one either. And it was just it was literally a domino effect of just bullshit. Yeah. And but like I said, it was only like 15,000 available in the UK. Let's say they doubled down because they prefer to get the United States North American market. There's 30,000 over here. So you're telling me even if and we knew it wasn't sold out. It was only Amazon that was saying that. Like Crap and his brother were saying you could have got it on PlayStation. You could have ordered it. There's different places you could have ordered it with no problem at all. But it was false hype. And so what? Like I said, at the end of 2016, even if they sell 75,000 units, am I supposed to give a shit? Like I don't. That's right. That's an epic failure.
You know
on two forms. I'm sorry, Alan, but even on production value, right? Being prepared. These things are being rushed out, and there's a lot of components for this thing to be rushed out. It's one thing when you're selling a PS4 or an Xbox One, and you hope you don't have issues with that 1% that come back damaged or not working when they hit the field. When you've got millions going out, but you're rushing out 75,000 to 100,000, maybe even 200,000 units in the first year. There's cables. There's testing for the cables because they all get like twisted and bound and this and that. You've got a processor box. You've got the helmet that looks like it's in two pieces. There's a lot of form, fit, and function here. I think you're going to see a lot of complaints. I think you're going to see a lot of production issues. I think you're going to see a lot of returns. And you're not going to see a huge volume going out the door the first year. This thing's a fail. It's an epic fail. And of course, and people go, Mooch, how can you say something like that? Cliffy B just came out and said it was the thing of the future. Cliffy B is 50% enrolled. He's dedicated. He's an investor. He's screwed. It's not 50%. I'm joking there, but he's heavily involved with this. Okay, he's in the Oculus side of things. But I mean, you can't say that. And people go, well, Mooch, you're trying to tell me the media's in on this? Absolutely.
Well, yeah. Here's the funny thing. Here's the funny thing with Cliffy B. He is tied. He actually is an investor in Oculus. But if he believed in it so much, why isn't his game VR? You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
And
I don't know, Mooch. I don't know if the media is in on the VR thing. And mainly, the only reason I say that is because Stephen Totilo of Kotaku wrote an article about how he understands people's apathy towards VR that only see the videos of the games being played and not playing them. And he says right in the article, everybody in the video game industry knows that VR articles are nobody reads them. Like nobody wants to write about VR because nobody clicks on them. So if that's true, and he goes to say that since nobody's clicking on them, nobody wants to write these articles, then I don't really think the media is behind it because, as we said before,
I'd like to do go ahead, Randall.
As I said before, the media is all about getting clicks so they can get more ad revenue. I mean, that's how that whole system works. But if VR doesn't bring the clicks and they're not going to get the ad revenue, they're not going to push it.
Well, I'm calling bullshit on this author that you're talking about. You go ahead and tell. I know you talk to a lot of these guys. Tell them to get a hold of me. What I'll do is I'll set up a beautiful spread of wine, cheese, crackers, popcorn, and he can watch the 48 hours of non-stop IGN VR coverage. So I don't know what the hell he's talking about. Maybe he's talking about actual print.
Yes, he's talking about actual written articles.
Well, let me just inform Rand. Let me inform him and anybody who's listening. Nobody reads anymore, Rand. So that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. How many people, on this panel, when was the last time this week somebody said to you, Rand, did you guys catch that thing on page 6 in the Times?
Nobody
says that.
Newspaper.
It doesn't matter.
Articles on a website.
Okay. No, no one reads that. They read headlines and they watch the 10. That's why IGN does these 50-minute shows, what is it called, our Game Scoop? But they don't even put it out in 50 minutes. They put it out in 5-10-minute clips. People's attention spans. There's studies on this. No one's reading anymore, so he's an idiot for saying something like that. Every single video that's 5 to 7 minutes long on Polygon, Kotaku, IGN, GameSpot, they're all VR. You can't get enough VR. It's in your face from the minute you wake up to the minute you go to bed. He's full of shit.
Even Tom's Hardware, which is mostly a PC gaming or a PC website, published an article, and I guess they're probably about to do a video on VR gaming, and then for the PlayStation VR specifically.
Well,
look, they're spoon feeding it to us, and look, I'm not look. This is why it's probably gonna be okay out the gate. You've got Samsung, you've got Google with their cardboard VR and whatever the hell. I don't even understand the concept of that. It's almost like when you made that remember that periscope you made in like 8th grade technology class?
I got
you had
one,
a piece
right?
of cardboard.
Somebody sent me one to review, like this. You put your cell phone in there. It gives you a headache and it don't work. Like, I don't understand it.
All
Like,
these
product.
headache.
yeah, like you go
That's
cross-eye or some shit when you put it on.
These
I don't
things
know, I
are
was like-
available, right? Crap, can't I go to the
Yeah.
store and buy that? Yeah, listen.
Yeah, you can.
There's a reason none of our how many of our friends, okay, listen, you can't say that our votes don't count. How many of you, okay, right now, Rand, Hellhammer, and Crap, how many people on a day-to-day basis have actually put the Samsung or the Google Cardboard on their face in front of you or told you they have one? Mine is 0, because Crap, I'm not even counting you because that's you're part of the business review.
I'm gonna throw out here too that I used to work for a major cell phone company that I'm not gonna disclose who, just to avoid hate on that.
Right.
And I never knew anybody who was interested in any of those features at any point.
No, and now here's the funny part: the Samsung and Google, okay, those are way less expensive. Way less expensive to get into. How much is that thing you're testing out, Crap? How much is
I
that
think it's
retail?
about like $40, something like that.
$40. $40 fucking dollars. It's the same cost as the used Ratchet and Clank that's coming out on PS4. So listen, right? This is $40 and nobody's talking about it. Now $500 and the media. This is what Rand. This is what I'm talking about. The media is making it sound like VR is the next coming of Christ. Okay, it's not. People don't give. And I'm not trying to be old funny dog. I can't wait for fucking floating technology. Bring me something new. Bring me something I can't wait to use. I've even said this much. HoloLens is not ready yet, but Microsoft knows that. There's going to be a day when that thing is literally just a visor that goes on your face just like a pair of Ray-Bans, and then I'm in. I'm in, bro, for $600. I'm in for $800 when they're Ray-Bans.
I agree.
I'm not going to go put that floating flying saucer on my head that they have right now, and I'm not wearing this motorcycle helmet that's Sony VR that's third fiddle to 2 other pieces of shit.
Well,
You know what I mean?
the good part about AR is that you aren't completely shut her off from the world.
No, you're not immersed. You're not immersed. I'm sorry, VR. If you guys can tell, Crap. This is like the 3rd week with VR. It fucking gets my blood pressure going.
Oh, dude, I can tell. Look, hey, I'm with you. Man.
Right?
I'm sorry, Rand. I'm sorry.
I think
did
VR
you like
is
my
stupid.
did you like
but
my mooch analogy on TXR
Buddy,
Monday?
I'm very, very proud of you. You are a mooch in training. I don't know if that is a compliment to you, but the apprenticeship is going well, my friend. You that was very good, and I think who was it that gave you a little? Oh, Maka was going back and forth with you with it, but no, very good, buddy. I like I believe it was a Disney analogy.
Well, yeah, I was just saying, like, so Six Flags Great America are consoles, right? Like, you go to it and you want to ride the rides, and the rides are the games, like, right? But like, VR is Disney World. You don't go to Disney World to ride the rides. You go to the Disney World for the experience. You take your kids to Disney World so they can have that experience of going. That's VR. Nobody's excited for a single game of VR. They're just excited for VR. They want to experience VR.
But
you know,
Rand,
like,
one of the things I use, me and you used a very similar analogy, and I'll explain it. When you go to Disney World, there's a lot of these great cinematic experiences that you're talking about. But if you remember correct, Rand, you only go on those rides once. But you go on the roller coasters over and over and over again because you just don't feel like waiting in line to just sit in that theater again. You understand what I'm saying?
Oh, I completely agree.
And that's so VR. Picture this, guys. Immerse yourself in the moochism I'm about to give you guys. Okay? You come home. You got a $500 box. You set everything up. It took you whatever half an hour. You're a tech savvy son of a bitch. You know what you're doing. It's all set up. You got your robot golf. You couldn't wait a year to play. Okay? You put it in. You're sitting there, you put the mask on, and you're like, holy shit, this is actually a lot better than I thought. Mooch was wrong. What a nut he is. He's crazy. I love this robot golf. I'm glad I made this purchase. An hour and a half later, you take it off, you sit next to your better half, your brother comes over, whoever, and they're like, how is it? You're like, I'm not going to lie to you, bro. It's actually pretty fucking good. I liked it. Well, let me try it. Now you guys enjoy day 1. Day 2, you come home, you're like, let me put that fucking visor back on again. That thing was awesome. Okay. Yeah. 3rd day, you're down to a half an hour. 4th day, you're like, I'm a little tired of it. I'll take a night off from it. Let's go back to the division.
Yeah.
5th night, you go back, right? 5th night, you go back to it again for a little while. Fast forward 2 weeks. You're not even picking it up. That thing's got a layer of dust on it. It's an experience, Rand. So you know what I recommend? Get 5 of your neighbors that are into gaming split the 500 and just rotate the fucking thing once a month in each house, because it's no more than that. And like I said, Rand, if me and you go to Disney World,
eventually you're going to be skipping turns. You're going to be like, nah, go ahead and keep it.
Oh my God, yeah, it's just like, you know what it is? It's like when you share a Netflix account with your buddy and you got a Blu-ray. And it's a movie you didn't care for. But you're like, yeah, go ahead. It's next on the queue. And then he's like, do you mind if I hold it another week? You're like, knock yourself out. Who the fuck wants to watch Gremlins again in 1080p? You know, get out of here. You know, so I mean, it really is. It really is what you said, Rand. It's an experience. But you know what's great about the word experience? It generally was something you enjoyed once. Okay, that's when you said I had an experience. If you had them every day, it's not an experience. It's every fucking day life. Okay? It's not an experience. And that's what VR is. VR is that $2, and I'm dating myself here, a lot of the young guys that are listening to the podcast. It's the $2.50 game that was in the back of the arcade that you stepped into it and pulled the curtain, and you played it, and you were like, holy shit, this is amazing. You know, even though it smelled terrible in there from the sweat from the guy before you, but you enjoyed it for $2.50. But then every week you went back to the arcade, you went to that $2.50 immersion game less and less and less, and you went back to Street Fighter 2 and Mortal Kombat and fucking Dragon Lair. You know what I mean? Like, that's my point. That's my whole point with this. So VR is really being spoofed, and you remember, the media is responsible. And people go, Mooks, you're trying to tell me they're getting paid off? I can't prove that to you. That's not what I do. I don't get up every morning and put on my fucking
paid off with
gadget
clicks. They get paid off with clicks. Yeah,
that's why they talk about it.
Didn't some chick just like write an article about like like she tried VR all day and like she ended up with all these like nasty side effects or some shit?
Yeah, she wore it all day and then she got real sick or whatever. You know, I think people are going to react differently than this. First of all, you can't be under 12 and use it. That's a big blow to some of the casuals or what have you, families. You know, because I guess. You know, like in the Japanese marketing for this is like has a Japanese family sitting there playing it, whereas the American marketing has like teenagers, like college, high school kids playing it, right, on a couch, right? So there are two distinct differences between that. But I think that, like my brother Hellhammer, he can't really watch 3D movies because he gets a fucking headache. You know what I mean? I can only watch a 3D movie for like 2 hours tops. If it's like a 3-hour movie, man, I can't do that shit. I'm taking off the glasses and rubbing my eyes like part way through. You know what I mean? Like, this isn't going to be something that people use long term. I got the Kinect for the 360 day fucking one. Hellhammer come over. We fucking played it. It was fun, right? We played it, but did we ever get back and play it again? I mean, like...
No. I mean, it's the same way. I mean, you could even say that for the original Wii, too, right? Like, I had that. I was, like, I was really into it for the first couple of weeks, and then I was, like, less and less impressed with waving a controller around.
Yeah.
You know?
Almost broke your TV. I was like, you know, whoa, there you go. You know what I mean? There's the fucking Wii mode. How long before you got, like, the lawsuits coming and shit like that, you know what I mean, for people that... punched somebody or knocked over a TV or something, because I've seen these videos where these people are so fucking disoriented after they get done using this thing. You know what I mean? It's like, this thing is not going to end well, and I think that it'll die a quicker death, most likely, than 3D gaming did. Like, 3D gaming, it took, a couple years for that to completely die out. I have a feeling, and what's going to happen this E3, right? Those Sony fanboys, this is what's so funny. The Sony fanboys, the core fans or supposed core fans, are like, crap, you're going to do a video about it, right? It's sold out everywhere. And I'm like, no. So these core fans are excited about VR selling out. They don't understand the full impact of what VR means to them until they see Sony's E3, which is going to most likely be dedicated at least 50 to 60% to VR. And that's not going to translate well to someone watching at home. You know what I mean? Because we can't experience that. It just looks stupid. You see a bunch of PS2.
You have your own VR device.
Yeah, it's just going to look like a bunch of PS2 style games. Like, you know what I mean? It's going to look stupid. So then they're going to maybe start to realize, hey, you know, maybe this isn't all it's cracked up to be, because they're getting their own Kinect. You know, like, we didn't like seeing Skittles on stage. Hey, Skittles, and all this bullshit. You know what I mean? Are they going to like seeing that retarded, like, PS2 style kiddie little party game stuff? No, they want, you know, if you're a core gamer, you want to see you want to see God of War 4 and, you know, these core games. You know, they're not going to get that. They're going to get these shitty games. And then what's going to happen is they're going to see what used to be a core game, like Infamous, and the developers making an exclusive version for VR. right? And so you're getting less core games than you already were because those developers are now pushing VR because they have to, because that's Sony's big bet right now is VR. So this has major implications, and it could really fuck up everything. You know what I mean? If it fails, hopefully it fails fast and doesn't linger. You know what I mean? Because I wouldn't want it to fuck up developers long term, like a whole bunch of developers. Because let's be honest, a lot of developers have a lot riding on this being successful or not, and I think that
let's look at evidence, right? Let's just look at the past evidence, guys. PSP, PS Vita, whatever you want to call it, it's dead, okay? And it was a $200 item, okay? So it's less than half of what the $500 kit is going to cost, and it's dead. And it had way more games. Listen, no joke. PSP, PS Vita, the games were bad, right? But they're way better than Robot Golf or Tron Frisbee. So like. My point being is that like where is this gonna go? And like you just said, if Sony put all their eggs into one basket, and me and Crap have a little thing going on here. Crap thinks that you're gonna see God of War 4. I don't think.
I think you're gonna see 12 seconds of in-game footage, technical.
I don't.
Quote, like they're gonna have to, because they're gonna know that Microsoft's gonna blow off the fucking doors, and they're gonna have something prepared. Right?
Well,
I mean, you have that guy coming out begging for Shenmue money again. Hey, we know we begged last year for Shenmue 3, but we need even more money.
You make a great point, and it's hard. It's really, really hard. I don't even have it's hard for me to argue with you. You make a great point. I just don't think they're going to do it because I don't think they have anything coming.
In typical Mooch fashion, I agree with you.
Right.
But let me tell you why I don't agree with you.
I love that you guys picked that up. So because literally all the way through college and my whole life, everyone that I'm friends with, they say that I say that anyways. Like, so it's not just you guys.
Yeah.
I literally feel that like I just get these gut feelings, and like don't get me wrong, every once in a while you're wrong. Jury's still
I'm
out.
wrong a lot. It's fine. I'm fine with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Look at it. We don't win anything for being right. The point is, I just try to look at all the facts in a row, and then I just do the end result myself. I say equals this, and what I'm saying right now is I don't see how Sony ramps up anything quick enough. Look, Gears of War 4 is coming out this fall. E3 last year, they showed us a snippet, just a little taste, a little bit.
Yeah.
What are they going to put out for God of War 4 in the next 3 months when, if they even are mass hiring, nobody even got assigned? But they didn't even get assigned a cubicle yet. So, come on. Like, how are they going to put anything together? You're just going to show a picture of Kratos and, like, Yoshida eating the trailer?
It'll be a CGI trailer, and that'll be it, announcing God of War 4 for 2017.
They can throw together a CGI trailer pretty quickly. For E3.
Yeah, Rand, it's not coming to 2017. It'll be 2018 early.
I'm saying they'll announce it for 2017.
And then lie and delay.
And then whether it comes out in 2017 is a different story. I'm just saying that's when it'll be announced.
Anybody want to go? Listen, does anybody want to go? When E3 last year came out, I said Horizon's not coming out in 2016. Everyone's like, "You're full of shit, dude."
Well, also, I mean, there's supposedly Sucker Punch's new game is going to be there as well, and I don't know. I mean, this E3 could be one for the books. You're gonna have whatever Sony's doing. I mean, they'll probably trot Kojima up on stage to do whatever.
With Norman Reedus, right? Here's Norman Reedus. We're working on the future, but that's 4 years from now.
They'll totally have Shenmue back up on stage. Come on, dude. They'll show off gameplay. You know they will, right?
Yeah.
You'll probably have Final Fantasy VII
Crash
remake stuff
Bandicoot
on there.
come back, right?
They'll be teasing Crash Bandicoot. You'll have your like third-party multiplats. Whatever Sony's exclusive,
Destiny's
update, Destiny's update,
Call of Duty,
Titanfall 2 and stuff like that. They'll probably be up there as well. And
oh god, not Titanfall 2.
I just kind of slid that in. The Microsoft, like who knows what they got coming up? I'm sure we'll probably get Scalebound stuff and hopefully Recore Blowout. As far as like new games, I don't know. They probably get Halo Wars gameplay. Well, that's not
Sea of Thieves.
Battlefield 5, Titanfall 2.
I mean, who knows? And then maybe Microsoft will start like talking about games coming out in 2017, 2018, and then there's the whole Nintendo thing, which is going to be
that shitty NX controller where everybody's going to damage control the hell out of it.
It's so great though. It's going to be awesome.
Well, the Nintendo one's going to be the biggest, really one of the biggest ones, just because of the hardware alone.
Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly. I think it's interesting because it is going to be an interesting E3 for a couple factors. One, there's no booth there from EA. There's no booth there from Activision. You have Nintendo possibly announcing their new hardware. Hopefully they do it better than the Wii U, because that nobody knew what the hell that was from the get-go, and it fucked them over for the entire generation. I mean, really just awful. If you go back and rewatch that, they never even show off the console, just a gamepad. Just really bad marketing, and hopefully Microsoft has their shit together. But here's the thing: Microsoft could have the best show ever, even better than last year's, and then Sony could focus on VR for 60% of the time, and then decide to close it out with Gran Turismo, God of War 4. You know what I mean? And then people, or Crash Bandicoot, here's some Shenmue footage, and people are going to be like, "Oh my God, Sony just won again!"
No. No matter what, it doesn't. No, they could do that. Whoever, Nintendo's gonna just dominate all the headlines with the new system, and like new Zelda, like new Mario and shit. Like they'll dominate all the headlines. Because at the end of the day, I know like Mooch likes to say that the media is in the pocket of Sony or whatever, but a lot of the media also has a very, very soft spot for Nintendo.
Yeah.
Right?
They want Nintendo to do well, because that's the oldest one. You know what I mean?
And that's what people will be looking for on E3, is anything about the news of the Nintendo's new hardware, what it's like, what its price is, the games for it. That'll be, that's assuming they actually have a conference, because I'm thinking they're not going to do a direct. I'm thinking they're going to be there. They're going to have a conference. They're going to have all the Nintendo fanfanboys in the audience, so they can also
need that.
little girls when they show off that Zelda.
They need a conference for this. If they're doing hardware, that needs to be a conference.
I'm gonna have to take that nausea pill from all the anime that's gonna be around there. Oh my shit! My God!
Hopefully you can run into Yoshida in the elevator like Tim.
Yeah.
And Southbound, because I think that would be hilarious, because I got a feeling that you wouldn't have a problem like talking shit to him, and I think that would be, whatever you do, capture it on cell phone, dude, because we could replace Mooch harasses people at GameStop buying PS4s with Mooch harassing Yoshida at E3.
Yeah, executives.
Oh my
executives
God.
at E3. That would be great, though, wouldn't it?
Dude, that would be fucking hilarious. You'd get 1 million hits.
Mooch, you forgot your Pikachu balloon. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Thank you. I purposely left that back there with the bag of goodies.
I got one more quick thing to cover before I let you guys go, and that is, we know Microsoft was completely open to, or at least they say they're open to doing crossplay with PS4, right? So they basically said, "Your move, bitch ass Sony," and Sony's all like, "Well, we've been doing this for a while." And then now you have the developers of Rocket League saying, "We've got this shit figured out. We just need basically Sony's okay to do it. We've got it all worked out." Sony is the one not allowing this to happen at this point. So, I mean, do you think? I love the fact that Microsoft called Sony's bluff. Right? It's like the whole thing with using cloud compute, like where Phil Spencer's like, "Yeah, any of our competitors are allowed to use it, but will they? Like, fucking who knows, right? Like Microsoft can come out there and say, "Hey, Sony, we'll do crossplay with PS4," but Sony's going to be like very cagey about it. I mean, what is your guys' thoughts on that? Like, in my opinion, Sony just kind of got exposed for being full of shit, for the players and all this stuff like they claim to be, and then, they're basically not going to allow this kind of crossplay. I think it would be very cool to have this kind of thing, because I'd love to smack around Sony kids, but it doesn't look like they're going to allow it.
No, Sony doesn't like Microsoft, so why would they compete? Why would they help them out? They're not going to help them out.
Well, they're the market leader. You're not gonna help out your competitor, just like Coke wouldn't help out Pepsi. It might happen for Rocket League, just because of the game's stature, and I think Sony might allow it just for that game. But I don't think you're gonna see it in many other ones, unless third-party publishers are really, really, really pushing for it and breathing down Sony's neck for it.
Well, that's what I say. It's going to take them getting pushed over the ledge. But you know what? I see your market leader stance, Rand, and I'll trump that. No,
you're going to trump it? Like Donald Trump? Oh, we got an endorsement right here. Mooch endorses Donald Trump, 100%.
Thanks for the 800 extra tweets I got to delete from my crap. No, what I was going to say was literally the point of the matter is that it doesn't matter if Sony's the market leader. Sony's not helping them if they were dead last. Sony hates Microsoft. I don't know how many times. I got to say that 1 million times. They don't want to help them at any place. Just before, if the minute Sony's in a coffin after VR puts them out of business, and they're sitting there, and Microsoft has their hand out, do you want us to help you? Literally, as the coffin's closing, Yoshida will flip Phil off. Like, that's the way this is going down. This is not going down peacefully. Sony doesn't like them. They don't want to help them, and like then it goes into what you're saying. Then it would be like, well, they don't have to. Yes, I understand they don't have to, but they don't want to. And that's bullshit, because when Sony got hacked or whatever they got the year and a half ago, Microsoft was one of the big companies that stepped in to help them try and secure their code again so that they can get back to up and running. Not have the North Koreans in their database left and right. So, like, literally, I'm telling you, that's why when I see a lot of America, look, you do whatever you want to do. Like, it's not that you don't own a Sony product or anything like that. Yeah, of course you go buy a Sony product, but like when you sit there and you can enjoy your PS4, but don't bash the Xbox. Xbox is a hell of a product. They're putting out more shit. They're listening to the customer. They're doing more of what we do in quote unquote capitalism. And that's what you do, and that's why I choose to invest in Microsoft.
Yeah, hey, I'm with you 100%. I would love for this to happen. I just don't see it happening. I wish it would. I just, I think it would be. Go ahead, Elmer.
I mean, I think it would be good as far as for a player and a consumer perspective. I mean, it'd be great. I mean, basically at this point, you're putting the power of console popularity. Basically in the power of the people's hands to say, okay, well, I like what the features of console X has, but all my friends have console Y, so they have to go buy, whatever their console. But as a whole, I don't see Sony going through with it just because I don't think that they're the type of people who would want to go through with anything that's pro-consumer.
Well, they claim they're pro-consumer, though. That's
they're
the thing.
for the players, Joe.
Yeah, for the players, man. Why would they say they're for the players?
Greatness waits, man.
Yeah, why would they say they're for the players if they're not for the players? Why? That makes no sense.
That's just their little motif thing, or whatever the hell you want to call it, that they have going on. But I mean, honestly, I don't see what the issue is. I mean, people play cross-platform on all kinds of other things, PC, whatever. Mac PC, Linux PC, whatever.
In 2013, I watched Sony get up on stage and be like, "Yo, gamers, we got your back. We're for you. We love gamers. We're for the players. Greatness waits here for $3.99."
Yeah.
And the ones that if they're really the ones holding up this whole thing, fuck them, man. They're obviously fucking. They'll say one. It's like the PR thing with the Fable studio. Like, hey, we're sorry to see Lina go under. We got some jobs for you, and then a fucking week later, fucking shut down Evolution Studios. You know? Like, come on now. And I get, like, some people will say, well, Fable's a different type of game than Evolution, so, like, they could hire devs from Fable and put them in, this studio and this studio, and, they're not really correlated. Okay, fine, but still, like, why try to hire the Fable? You should be trying to keep your own studios open instead of worrying about those other people, Like,
I thought Microsoft should have tweeted out today, hey, we're going to hold a fucking conference or whatever for those affected or whatever. You know what I mean? Like,
your video was good, Crap. You nailed it. You said to have Turn 10 do it.
Yeah, exactly. Why not? You know what I mean? Just, hey,
it'd be more
tweet it out.
It'd be Playground, because I think they're based in the UK and they do the Forza Horizon series. It'd be great, but like, hey, we got openings for our staff or whatever.
Yeah, we do racing games. You know what I mean? Like,
but it's always nice to see Sony get called out on their shit sometimes, though. Like, look, and I think part of the reason is because Microsoft's previous policy, which everybody knew, was they allowed no crossplay. Right, and that was the directive from like super high up in Microsoft. Had nothing to do with the head of Xbox. This was a directive way above him. So Sony could be like, of course we have crossplay with PC, because it doesn't mean anything really. It's like, yeah, we'll have Final Fantasy 14 and all this stuff, because they knew Microsoft wasn't going to be involved. So when anybody asked, they'd be like, we're doing it. We don't know why Microsoft isn't. And then suddenly Microsoft changes one of their policies that was like at the top of the company. They're like, yo, bitch, we'll fuck anybody. Let's do this shit, right? And now all of a sudden Sony's like, wait a minute, are we gonna have to fuck Microsoft now? I don't know. They're all worried and shit. Like, and it's funny because they don't see anybody really talking about it. You just get these vague statements from Sony execs. And like even the Rocket League devs are like, hey, we got this shit figured out already. Like a week later, we're ready to fucking roll this shit out. All we got to get through is the politics.
Yeah, the politics.
Quote, the politics. And Microsoft's been clear, like they're willing to do anything. So if you take the devs at their word and Microsoft at their word, which, you know, it's Microsoft as a corporation, I don't really trust them either, but like it seems Microsoft wants to do the right thing, so the one holding it up is Sony. And Sony, you know, their whole thing was like, we've been doing this since 2000 whatever. It's like, so where's my Rocket League? Where's my game where I can fucking play and play against the PlayStation guy? That should already be happening, right?
Yeah. Well, they proceeded to name off only like a handful of games that they've done since 2002, right? There's literally only less than 2 handfuls of fucking games since then that they've had kind of crossplay with. You know, and I think Microsoft is trying to, you know, since they're more as dedicated to services now, they see that hey, let's go ahead and try to branch out and do this and this and this to kind of benefit gamers and ourselves as well, you know, more reach. But the problem that Sony has is they're relying heavily on the person going, well, 5 of my friends, they all bought PS4s, but if I can play Call of Duty, even though I prefer Xbox, you know, and if I could get an Xbox and still play against my friends in Call of Duty, great. You know what I mean? Sony doesn't want that. They want all 5 out of 5 friends buying a PS4. You know what I'm saying?
It's true too. They heavily bank on that because I see that every day. Where I see, you know, I have a lot of people that, you know, haven't upgraded to newer consoles or anything like that. They post a status on Facebook or on Twitter or something, and they're, you know, oh, I want to go get a new console. What one should I get? And, you know, you have 4 people out there say, you have a couple of people out there will get an Xbox One because, you know, all these features, and a bunch of people are like, but I'm on PS4, and then you know, 2 days later, oh, I got a PS4.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean that's how it goes sometimes. You know what I mean? And I just wish that Sony would for once live up to what they've claimed.
Yeah. I wonder how long until more people start talking about this.
Remember about how long it took for people to talk about Sony trying to patent Let's Play 3 times.
But nobody ever tried to talk about that though.
I know. Yeah, basically, do you guys remember exactly? Hold on, let me see.
Yep. Winner.
Yeah, like, don't you guys remember, like, everybody was talking about how Sony, that the better PSN hashtag, right? That was big for a couple days, right? Yeah. And now, where has all that gone, right? You can't change your name on PSN. You can't. They didn't do anything. They placated the people. That's what they do. Sony's like, hey, let's get another slogan out there for these kids, right? And then they're gonna buy into it. Sony's got to be laughing their asses off because they're the only company I know that can be like, yeah, we're for the players. We laugh at people that want to sell you a TV box, and now they're trying to sell you that View TV or whatever the hell it is. You know what I mean? Oh, we're not about gimmicks. We laugh at Kinect and all this stuff, and now they're trying to sell you a gimmicky ass VR experience. You know, we talked about how important resolution is and how important graphics and power is. You don't throw that out the window because you want a shitty VR.
Crap, how funny was it? You made a great point right there. That is insane. You can't even go over it. They made fun of Kinect for a year, and now they're telling all of their customers, you need to go get a Sony Eye.
Yeah.
Like, how hypocritical of a company is this? They pulled it out of the box.
I refuse to get one because I don't want them spying on me. That's basically what it comes down to.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. Every phone we have, every device you have, a 3DS, everything has a camera on it, but the Kinect is the real spy.
Yeah, well, we know Microsoft wants to spy on everybody in their basement, seeing you in your underwear and shit. Well, Sony, they're for the players, so they'd never do anything like that, right?
Yeah. They're spying on Rand when he got a meat lover's pizza.
He's like, dude, Rand managed to beat the division and like get all 1,000 gamer score in like 50 hours. I don't see how he must like have a plan and shit how do you attack shit like that, Rand?
Well, yeah, I probably could have done that actually faster. I did waste a little bit of time on that game.
Like, do you have? It seems like you got a plan of action though. You're able to like.
There's always a plan of action, man. It's all about time management and getting things done as efficiently as possible. I mean, for that game in particular, the way I played it is the way I play most open world games. Like I would do a main mission and then I would clear out a section of the map that I was in, like do all the side missions and stuff. Like, so by the time I was finished with the game, like the story, like I had the map cleared. So like all I had left to do was just like play the missions again and like do some Dark Zone stuff and then get the collectibles.
Have you played it since the update? What do you think about the update?
No, I haven't played it since.
I haven't either.
I did grind some of the Bull King stuff though. I did do that for a little bit. Got some extra Phoenix coins. Got a pretty good roll on my Vector, the gold one.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting, right? Like we were all under level 30. I think we were like level 26 or something, and we were going in the dark zone, and we were like, "There's really." And we like trolling people and killing them and stuff, right? And my friend who was level 30 is like, it's a whole different ball game when you hit 30 and go in the dark zone. And we were like, we don't believe you. So we all get to level 30, we go in there, right? Next thing you know, if you see somebody with a fucking red skull, you got the whole server chasing that motherfucker. Like you have 100 people chasing them. You know what I mean? It's like you cannot kill. Like it's difficult to do, like to do the team killing and to turn rogue once you're level 30 because everybody and their mother will fucking hunt you down. So I think that it's like it took away a little bit of the fun reaching level 30. I was like, holy crap, you know what I mean? Just like, I don't know, it's just not as fun. I'm hoping that they increase the level cap and fix some stuff up but I really enjoyed the experience immensely with that game. It's fantastic. I think it's great. Just overall as a fun game, not particularly like the shooting or anything like that. But
I'm still level 26.
Oh, dude, you got to hurry up and level up, man.
Yeah, level 30 is where it starts to get interesting.
Just do what we did, man. When we needed those last few levels, we just went and did like the littler missions for like the security wing or the tech wing or whatever.
Well, that's what I'm doing. I finished the main missions a while ago. Now I'm just doing like the side missions and the encounters.
Upload the virus, blah blah blah. Yeah, that was annoyingly bad. But anyway, thank you guys for joining us tonight. Rand, you got anything to close with real quick?
I mean, other than check out Crossfire Friday. I'll be on there with Mooch's show.
I'll be too. I'll be there like bouncing shit out. Yeah, I mean, like it's podcasting is difficult to find good people.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. Once you get a couple people that work well together, that's best to stick with that. So yeah. So there's that, and then you got TXR. You guys can look that up.
TXR Monday nights, 10 p.m. Central, 11 p.m. Eastern. Plus
you guys
giveaway going on for Con and Break. Yeah.
And Worrywart was pretty drunk in last.
Yeah, Worrywart was pretty good in the last episode. He was like 5 or 7 martinis in, so he was explaining the meanings of words to people.
Oh, yeah. Well,
the thesaurus and stuff.
You like that? I tweeted that out this morning. TXR with worry is thesaurus is what the key was.
Well, I love that he finally let go because he has all these things and thoughts on this stuff, and it's interesting to actually have him like go out and like kind of let go a little bit. You know what I mean? So I think that's pretty cool. What about you, Mooch? You got anything going on?
No, we got Crossfire, and I do want to actually say that I will be doing. I mean, not that it's already being saturated, so I thought the fun of it would be. But if you guys do care for my Moochisms or my opinion, I'll be streaming Quantum Break when it comes out.
There you go.
Twitch, so you'll be hearing about that.
Yeah, well, let me know when you do that, and I'll retweet that and stuff so everybody can watch. What about you, Hellhammer? You got anything to close with?
Oh, not really. Just thanks for letting me be on the show here. Look forward to starting my own channel here in the near future.
There, you heard it there. I'm trying to talk Hellhammer into doing YouTube because he's got a lot of technical aspects and stuff besides his flub on the whole GDDR4 or whatever the hell that was. But other than that, yeah, he's a good tech guy. He like builds all my stuff, and like I go to him a lot for that kind of stuff. But thanks for watching, guys. We'll catch you next week, and we'll catch you on the Crossfire this Friday, BGST Sunday. Rack 'em up.